The wind howled like a betrayed lover as I crested the ridge, my boots crunching against the loose gravel of the Colorado Trail, only to find Cora perched on a boulder, her back to me, staring into the abyss of the Rockies' jagged spine. "I can't do this anymore, Mads," she whispered to the void, her voice cracking like thunder in the distance, before she turned and locked eyes with me. Those blue pools I'd drowned in 1,000 times without her ever knowing. In that split second the world tilted, and I realized the straight best friend I'd dragged out here to escape my crumbling life was about to shatter mine completely. We'd come to the Rockies for healing, or so I told myself. Madeline Harper. That's me, 28. A graphic designer from Denver with a portfolio full of half-finished dreams, and a heart stitched together from too many one-sided crushes. My last breakup had been a slow bleed. Ellie, the barista with the tattooed arms and easy laugh, ghosting me after 6 months because it just feels too intense. I'd packed my duffel bag that Friday night in May, the kind of spring where the mountains still clung to winter's chill, and texted Cora. "Road trip? Need to forget." She replied in seconds. "Hell yes. Your Jeep, my playlists. Let's chase some horizons." Cora Ellis was my anchor, the straight girl who'd stumbled into my orbit freshman year at CU Boulder. 27 now, she was all golden hour glow, long blonde waves that caught the light like wheat fields, curves that turned heads in her sundresses, and those laugh lines around her eyes from years of bad decisions and better recoveries. She worked as a high school English teacher in Aurora, molding young minds with her infectious optimism, quoting Whitman like it was small talk. We'd bonded over late-night ramen and rom-com marathons, her oblivious to the way my gaze lingered when she stretched out on the couch, bare feet tucked under my thigh. Straight as an arrow, I'd remind myself. Best friend material only. The drive up was pure therapy. Windows down, her indie folk playlist humming through the speakers, Phoebe Bridgers crooning about ghosts and graveyards, while the Front Range unfolded like a crumpled love letter. We snaked through Evergreen, past the reservoirs shimmering like forgotten promises, and hit the trailhead at Brainerd Lake by noon. The air was crisp, laced with pine and the faint rot of melting snow. "This is what we needed," Cora said, slinging her pack over one shoulder, her tank top riding up just enough to show the dimples above her jeans. I nodded, swallowing the flutter in my chest. Yeah, what we needed. Day 1 was easy conquests. A 4-mile loop around the lake, wildflowers nodding in the breeze like they approved of our charade. We picnicked on turkey sandwiches and craft IPAs she'd smuggled in her cooler, her laughter echoing off the water as she recounted her latest dating fiasco. A guy named Trent who'd proposed skydiving on date 2 and bailed when she said she'd rather read Austen. "Men," she sighed, popping a wild strawberry into her mouth, juice staining her lips red. "Always chasing the rush. Never the quiet." I watched her, mesmerized by the way the sun haloed her hair, and forced a chuckle. "You're too good for them, Cor." If only she knew how much I meant it. That night we camped under a sky bruised purple by stars. The tent was a 2-person squeeze, our sleeping bags zipped together for warmth because practicality over comfort, she joked. Lying there in the dark, the nylon whispering with every shift, I could hear her breathing slow into sleep, deep rhythmic like ocean waves pulling me under. My mind wandered to dangerous places, the curve of her hip under the bag, the scent of her shampoo mingling with campfire smoke. I'd fallen for her years ago in stolen moments. A hug that lingered too long after her grandma's funeral, her hand on my knee during a scary movie. But I'd buried it deep, because losing Cora wasn't an option. Not when she was the one person who made Denver feel like home. By day 2 the trail turned feral. We pushed for the Continental Divide. A 10-miler that climbed like ambition, switchbacks carving into granite faces slick with morning dew. Cora was a force, all determination and quips, her ponytail swinging like a metronome. "If I can survive parent-teacher conferences, I can conquer this rock," she panted halfway up, sweat beading on her collarbone. I trailed behind, my pack heavier than it should be, loaded with unspoken words. We'd stopped at a overlook for water, the valley sprawling below like a green quilt stitched with silver streams. She leaned against me then, casual as ever, her head on my shoulder. "Thanks for this, Matt. You're my rock, pun intended." My heart hammered harder than my pulse on the ascent. If she only knew. That's when the first crack appeared. As we descended into a shaded grove, her phone buzzed. Service was spotty, but this signal pierced through. She glanced at the screen and her face shuddered, that easy smile folding like origami. Everything okay? I asked, keeping it light. She pocketed it quick. Yeah, just work stuff. Grading essays at midnight, kill me. But her eyes darted away, and I caught the lie in the set of her jaw. Cora didn't lie, not to me. We pressed on, the trail narrowing to a knife's edge, aspens whispering secrets we couldn't hear. Camp that night was by a creek that giggled over pebbles, fireflies winking like conspirators. We roasted marshmallows, the flames painting her cheeks rosy, and she opened a bottle of red she'd hauled up, Cabernet from a vineyard near her parents' place in Fort Collins. To us, she toasted, clinking her tin mug against mine. The unbreakable duo. The wine loosened tongues. She confessed her fear of turning 30 single, the pressure from her mom to settle down with a nice boy. The way teaching felt like pouring from a cup that never refilled. I listened, nodding, my own confessions locked in my throat. Instead I shared Ellie, the ghosting, the way it hollowed me out. Love's a thief, I said, staring into the fire. Cora reached across, squeezing my hand. Her skin was warm, callous from chalkboards and lesson plans. You're not hollow, Matt. You're full of light. Our fingers laced just for a beat, and the world narrowed to that point of contact. Then she pulled away, laughing it off. Whoa, deep thoughts by firelight. Past the Esmeraldas. Sleep evaded me. The creek's murmur mocked my restlessness, and sometime past midnight, I slipped out to pee, the cold air slapping sense into me. That's when I heard it. Her voice low and urgent on the phone. Moonlight silvered the tent flap, and I froze in the shadows. I know, Trent. But this trip. It's complicated. A pause, her sigh like wind through canyons. No, she's just a friend. My best friend. God, why do you always twist it? Twist it? My stomach nodded. Trent, the skydiving dud? They'd broken up months ago, or so she'd said. I miss you too, she murmured, softer now. But Mads doesn't know about us getting back together. She'd be hurt. She gets attached. Attached. The word landed like a stone in still water. Ripples of betrayal spreading. I backed away, heart pounding, the forest closing in like judgment. Morning broke gray. Clouds hugging the peaks like uninvited guests. Cora was all sunshine. Brewing coffee over the stove, oblivious or pretending. Ready for the big push today? Summit's calling. I forced a grin, the lie bitter on my tongue. We hiked in fits and starts, the trail a brutal staircase of roots and scree. Silence stretched between us, heavier than our packs. Finally, at a false summit, a windswept plateau ringed by cairns, she stopped, hands on knees, breath ragged. Mads, wait. I turned, the vista behind her a mockery of beauty. Endless ridges fading into haze. What's going on? You've been weird since last night. The words tumbled out before I could cage them. I heard you. On the phone. With Trent. Her face drained of color, blue eyes wide as alpine lakes. Mads, attached. I cut in, voice raw. That's what you think? That I'm some clingy sidekick pining for scraps? She straightened, crossing her arms like armor. It's not like that. We were on a break and then. He showed up at my door last week, all apologies and flowers. I didn't want to jinx it by telling you yet. Jinx it? As if our friendship was a superstition. And me? I'm the complication, the one you hide from your boyfriend. The argument ignited like dry tinder. She fired back about trust, about how I'd never said a word about my feelings for her. Not the crushes, not the way my eyes followed her like a shadow. Feelings. I echoed, the admission slipping free. God, Cora, how could you not see? Every hug, every late night, it's been you. Always you. The confession hung there, exposed, more terrifying than any drop-off. Her mouth parted, shock-etching lines around it. Mads, I thought you were straight. Or bi, maybe, but not. Not like that. Not for me. Straight. The word we danced around for years. She stepped closer, tentative, her hand hovering near mine. I don't know what to say. This changes everything. It did. The summit waited, but we sat there instead. The wind whipping our words into confessions. She admitted the phone call guilt. Hiding Trent because part of her knew it was a rebound. A safe harbor after her own heartbreaks. You're my constant, she said, tears tracking mascara down her cheeks. But I'm scared, Mads. Scared of messing us up. I wiped her face with my thumb, the touch electric, forbidden. Me too. But hiding? That's already broken us. We didn't kiss, not then. It was too fragile, too loaded. Instead, we descended in a truce, hands brushing accidental on purpose, the trail blurring through stinging eyes. That night storm clouds rolled in like omens, thunder rumbling promises of flood. The tent shuddered as rain lashed the fly, turning our world to a drumbeat of what-ifs. Cora unzipped her bag, scooting closer. For warmth, she murmured, but her body language screamed more. We lay face to face, breath sinking in the dark. Tell me what you want, she whispered, her fingers tracing my arm light as moth wings. You, I breathed. Just you. Her lips found mine then, soft, hesitant, tasting of salt and rain-soaked earth. It wasn't fireworks. It was a quiet unraveling, years of tension uncoiling in sighs and shivers. We explored with the reverence of pilgrims, hands mapping collarbones, necks arching into kisses that spoke what words couldn't. No rush, no desperation. Just two souls finally aligning under the storm's indifferent roar. Dawn brought clarity and complication. Trent's text lit up her phone like accusations. Where are you? We need to talk. She showed me, guilt etching her features anew. I have to end it properly, she said, voice steady but eyes pleading. For us. The word bloomed in my chest, tentative hope. We packed in companionable quiet, the trail mudslick underfoot, mirroring the slipperiness of our new reality. But as we neared the trailhead, her phone rang, her mom timing impeccable. Cora Bear. Trent called, sounding wrecked. What's going on up there? The call stretched, her laughter forced as she fielded questions about the girls' trip. I wandered to the Jeep, giving space but snippets carried. Promises of family dinner, hints at Trent's potential. When she hung up, her face was a mask. Mom's pushing the narrative, she said, sliding into the passenger seat. Thinks he's the one. The drive down was a minefield, her hand in mine over the console, but silence is pregnant with doubt. By the time we hit I-70, the spell cracked. What if this was a mistake? She blurted, staring out at the blurring pines. The kiss, the everything. I'm straight, Mads. Or I thought I was. What if I can't? Betrayal stung fresh, sharper than the phone call. A mistake. I echoed, gripping the wheel. Last night you said. I know what I said, she snapped, tears spilling. But today, with the real world crashing in. Trent's real. Family's real. This. She gestured between us, vague, dismissive. This is mountains and magic. What if it's just that? The words eviscerated me, peeling back layers I'd barely begun to expose. I pulled over at a scenic turnout, the engine ticking like a bomb. So I'm the fantasy? The detour before you settle. She reached for me, but I flinched. No, God, no. I love you, Matt. As my friend. More? I don't know yet. We drove the rest of the way in shards, her apologizing in loops, me silent, the radio a white noise barrier. Denver's sprawl welcomed us like a judgmental ant, all concrete and compromise. She hugged me goodbye at my apartment, lingering too long, her whisper hot against my ear. Give me time. Please. I nodded, numb, watching her taillights fade into the evening haze. Weeks blurred into a haze of avoidance. Texts dwindled to emojis, calls to voice memos she never returned. I threw myself into work. Mock-ups for a craft brewery, logos that screamed escape, but nights were interrogations. Replays of her lips, her doubts. Then the bomb. A mutual friend's party invite. And there she was, arm looped through Trent's, her laugh a dagger from across the room. Straightened hair, red dress hugging her curves, the picture of heteronormative bliss. She caught my eye, mouthed sorry, but stayed glued to him, dancing slow to some country croon. I fled to the balcony, city lights mocking my isolation, when she followed. Mads, wait. Rain-slick air, the kind that soaks through denial. What is this? I demanded, voice breaking. Time? Or regret? She leaned against the railing, eyes downcast. Both. I tried, okay? Told Trent everything, the kiss, the confusion. He forgave me, said we could work through it. Forgave. As if I'd been the sin. And you? What do you want? Silence stretched, crueler than rejection. I want easy, she admitted finally, voice small. I want the life I know. Kids, PTA meetings, the white picket dream. With you. It's beautiful but terrifying. What if I break your heart worse later? The truth landed like avalanche snow, cold bearing. You already have, I said, turning away. She grabbed my wrist, pulling me back, her touch a ghost of the tent. I love you, Madeline, in a way that scares me shitless. But I'm not brave enough. Tears mingled with rain on her cheeks. We stood there, drenched, the party thumping indifferent behind us. No grand gestures, no Hollywood fix. Just two women on the precipice of what could have been. She left with him that night. A chaste kiss on my forehead, her goodbye. Months passed in incremental healing. Therapy sessions where I unpacked the weight of unrequited. Hike solo up those same trails, reclaiming the mountains as mine. Cora faded to occasional check-ins, birthdays, a shared meme about bad wine. Polite orbits around the ache. But humanism isn't erasure. It's evolution. Last fall a postcard arrived. Her handwriting looping like old promises. Teaching in the city now. Saw your exhibit downtown, proud doesn't cover it. Coffee sometime? No expectations. I stared at it under kitchen light, the Rockies echo in my veins. Not a fairy tale ending but a door cracked open. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing grace over grudge. I texted back. Long black, no sugar. Saturday. And just maybe in the quiet spaces between love finds its way back. Not as thunder, but as the steady rain that greens the high country. The coffee shop was a neutral ground. All exposed brick and the hiss of espresso machines. Tucked into a Lodo corner where history whispered through the steam. I arrived early, nursing a latte that burned my tongue. My sketchpad open to a half-drawn ridge line. Jagged peaks that mirrored the knots in my gut. 6 months since the party, 7 since the storm-swept kiss. And here I was, Madeline Harper, architect of my own fragile peace, waiting for the woman who'd upended it all. Cora walked in like autumn itself. Scarf loose around her neck, jeans hugging her hips, that blonde hair now streaked with subtle caramel from some impulsive salon trip. 27 felt like a lifetime ago. She carried 28 with a quiet weight, lines of laughter tempered by something deeper, regret maybe or resolve. Her eyes scanned the room, landing on me with a mix of relief and nerves. Mads, she breathed, sliding into the booth, her knee brushing mine under the table, accidental on purpose. You look incredible. Small talk was our shield. Her new gig at East High, wrangling sophomores through Shakespeare. My freelance boom, commissions from a queer arts collective that finally paid the rent. Laughter bubbled up, familiar as breathing. Her imitating a kid's dramatic Hamlet soliloquy. Me countering with a client horror story involving Comic Sans. But undercurrents pulled. Stolen glances, the way her fingers drummed the mug like Morse code. I've missed this, she said finally, voice dipping low. Missed us. The word again, loaded anew. I set down my cup, steadying. Me too. But last time. She nodded, eyes dropping to the foam heart swirling in her cappuccino. I know. I was a coward. Pushed you away because it was easier than facing myself. Confession hung there, raw as exposed nerve. After the party, Trent and I. It crumbled fast. He couldn't unhear what I'd said, and honestly, neither could I. She met my gaze then, blue steady as mountain sky. The kiss wasn't a fluke, Mads. It was a revelation. But I ran because love like that, messy, undefined, felt like free-falling without a parachute. I reached across, tracing her knuckles, the calluses softer now from less chalk dust. And now. Her smile was tentative, blooming slow. Now I'm jumping. With you if you'll have me. The invitation lingered, electric. We lingered too. Coffee turning to wine at a nearby bistro, stories unfurling like trail maps. She admitted the therapy, the late nights journaling, what scared her most. Not the labels, lesbian by whatever, but the vulnerability of choosing a woman in a world that still side-eyed it. Mom's coming around slowly. Dad sent me a book on Stonewall. Progress. I shared my own scars, the casual coming-outs that bombed, the family holidays where I was the artistic single auntie, the quiet pride of building a life unapologetic. By dusk, we were walking the Platte River Trail, leaves crunching underfoot like whispered approvals. The city lights danced on the water, a urban counterpoint to our mountain genesis. She stopped under a willow, branches draping like veils. I want to try, she said, hands framing my face, thumbs brushing my jaw. Dates. Hikes. All of it. No hiding. Her lips met mine. Firmer this time, assured, tasting of Merlot and mint. The kiss deepened, world fading to the press of her body, the way she sighed into me like homecoming. We broke apart breathless, foreheads touching. Your pace, I murmured. Our pace. Dating Cora was a revelation in subtleties. Picnics in Washington Park where she'd read me poetry, her head in my lap. Movie nights with her curled against my side, fingers intertwined like they'd always belonged. Intimacy built brick by brick. No rush to bedrooms but explorations in stolen touches. The arch of her back under my palms during a slow dance in my living room to Brandy Carlisle. She was learning me, and I heard the freckle constellations on her shoulders, the way she hummed off-key when content. But drama shadowed romance like thunderheads. Trent's lingering texts blocked but echoing. Her mother's probing calls laced with concern that bordered on coercion. The first real storm hit in November, frost painting the windows as we prepped for Thanksgiving. Cora's invite came casual. Join us? Mom's making her famous pecan pie. I hesitated. Family was minefield territory, but her plea won. They need to see you're not the villain in their straight daughter script. The drive to Fort Collins was tense, her hand white-knuckled on mine, the radio tuned to neutral jazz. Her parents' ranch house glowed welcoming, all twinkle lights and the scent of sagebrush, but the undercurrent hummed. Dad's firm handshake too tight. Mom's hug cool as autumn air. Dinner was a tightrope. Turkey carved with precision, small talk about weather and football. Then Mom pivoted, wine glass in hand. So, Madeline, Cora says you're quite the artist. Ever think of settling down? A nice girl like you must have options. The subtext screamed. Options that aren't my daughter. Cora stiffened beside me, fork pausing mid-air. Mom, she warned. But the floodgates cracked. Questions about phases, veiled Bible quotes, Dad's awkward coughs. I held steady, smiling through the siege, but inside old wounds wept. Cora snapped finally, voice whip-sharp. This is who I love. End of discussion. The table fell silent, pie uneaten. We fled early, her tears hot on the dashboard. I'm sorry, she choked. They're trying, but God, it's exhausting. I pulled over at a rest stop, pulling her into my arms amid the sodium glow. We face it together, I said, kissing her temple. Or not at all. That night, back in Denver, we built a fortress. Take-out Thai blankets fort-like on the couch, her head on my chest as we watched feel-good fluff. Vulnerability forged us stronger. Her opening up about internalized shame from church youth group. Me sharing the rejection letter from my conservative uncle post coming out. Love, we learned, wasn't absence of conflict. It was the choice to wade through. Winter deepened our roots. Christmas markets hand in hand, her gloved fingers laced with mine. New Year's at a queer-friendly cabin in Estes Park. Snow blanketing the world as we toasted with hot toddies by the fire. She gifted me a leather-bound journal inscribed, "For the stories we write together." I gave her a custom print, a watercolor of our divide overlook, two silhouettes on the horizon, hands almost touching. Intimacy evolved. Lazy mornings tangled in sheets, her laughter muffled against my neck. Hikes where we'd claim boulders as thrones, dreaming aloud of a future. Maybe a place in the hills, cats named after poets. But betrayal's ghost lingered, manifesting in spring's thaw. April brought Cora's ex-roommate's wedding, a lavish affair in Vail, all champagne flutes and first dances. Trent was best man, of course, his presence a polite poison. She debated skipping, but obligation tugged. I'll be fine, she assured, kissing me goodbye at the airport. It's closure. I nodded, but anxiety gnawed, old insecurities whispering what if? The weekend stretched eternal. Solo trail runs, sketch sessions that devolved into doubt. Then Sunday night, her flight delayed. A call pierced the quiet. Mads? I need you. Her voice cracked, airport din fading to sniffles. I raced to death, finding her curled on a bench, makeup streaked, dress rumpled. What happened? She collapsed into me, sobs racking. Trent cornered me during the reception. Said he still loves me, that we could fix things if I just try harder. Try harder. As if queerness was a phase to muscle through. He kissed me, she whispered, horrified. I pushed him away, but God, Mads, I froze. For a second, I wondered if it would be easier. Rage and hurt collided, but I held her, stroking her hair as security carts hummed by. Easier isn't real, I said softly. It's a lie we tell ourselves. We drove home in monsoon rain, her confessions pouring. The pull of familiarity, the societal script screaming this is how it's done. I chose you, she affirmed, hand on my thigh. Every day I choose the hard, beautiful truth. Betrayal wasn't her act. It was the world's, and ours was the rebellion. Summer bloomed defiant. Pride parades where she marched with a sign reading love wins, one heart at a time. Beach days at Grand Lake, her in a bikini that drew my gaze like gravity. We navigated conflicts with grace. Her mom's tentative olive branch, a lunch where questions softened to curiosity. My family's full embrace, Dad grilling her on her favorite trails. Romance deepened. Anniversaries marked with letters, her words a poetry of rediscovery. You taught me bravery wears freckles and flannel. Yet climax brewed in August heat. A job offer for me. 6 months in Portland consulting for a design firm. A career leap that terrified and thrilled. Go, she urged over ice cream on my fire escape. Fireflies winking approval. We'll make it work. Weekends, FaceTime hikes. But doubt crept. Distance as the ultimate test. What if absence revives the old fears? I voiced vulnerability raw. She cupped my face fierce. Then we fight for it. Like we fight for everything. The goodbye at the airport was a gut punch. Her tears soaking my collar. My promise whispered against her lips. 6 months isn't forever. Portland was a whirlwind, rain-slick streets, coffee shops humming with creatives, but loneliness echoed in empty studios. Calls became lifelines. Her voice bridging miles, stories of classroom chaos, my tales of foggy bridges. But October brought fracture. A work trip for her to a conference in Chicago, Trent's firm sponsoring. Coincidence, she swore, but photos surfaced on social. A group shot, his arm casual around her chair. Panic surged, trust teetered. I confronted over video, screen glitching like my resolve. Is this the easier path calling? Hurt flashed in her eyes. No. Mad's its noise. Background bullshit. But the seed planted, watering with every delayed reply. Every vague update. By November the dam broke. A late-night call, her slurred from conference wine. Miss you so much it hurts. Then silence. Trent's voice in the background laughing. Click. Betrayal's blade twisted deep. I flew home unannounced, pounding on her door at dawn. Heart a war drum. She answered, disheveled, eyes puffy. Mads. Tell me, I demanded, storming in. Chicago. Him. She sank to the couch, head in hands. Nothing happened. We talked awkward, professional. But yeah, he flirted and I didn't shut it down fast enough. Old habits. Old habits. The phrase ignited fury. While I'm building a life across the country. Fighting for us. She stood desperate. I messed up. But I came home to you. Always. The argument raged. Accusations flying like hail, truths unearthed. Her fear of long distance echoing her parents' divorce. My terror of being the experiment. We collapsed in exhaustion, her head on my lap, sobs sinking. I can't lose you, she whispered. You're my horizon. Dawn filtered through blinds as we rebuilt. Boundaries drawn, therapy joint via Zoom. Promises etched in vulnerability. No more ghosts, I said. She nodded, sealing with a kiss, fierce, reaffirming. Portland's stint ended in December triumph. Project lauded, flight home for holidays. Cora met me at baggage claim. Sign scrawled my adventure awaits. Reunion was firelight soft. Her parents' tree trimming inclusive now. New Year's in the Rockies, snowshoeing to our overlook, rings exchanged. Not diamond but silver bands engraved with divide coordinates. Love, humanistic and hard-won. Emerged scarred but shining. Proof that betrayal forges doesn't fracture if chosen against. Spring 2026 unfurled like a well-kept secret. Cherry blossoms dusting Denver's alleys as Cora and I navigated the delicate architecture of our shared life. The apartment we found in Capitol Hill was a third-floor walk-up with creaky oak floors and windows framing the skyline. A canvas of brick and blue, our urban nest. Mornings were rituals. Her brewing pour-over while I sketched at the breakfast bar. Her bare feet nudging mine under the stool. What's today's masterpiece? She'd ask, peering over with that half-smile that still unraveled me. I'd shrug, smudging charcoal. Just you in pieces. Our rhythm was earned, not effortless. Weekly check-ins over Thai takeout. where we'd air grievances gentle as spring rain. Her grating burnout clashing with my deadline dives. The microaggressions at her school board meetings that left her drained. One parent called it indoctrination. She'd vent, chopsticks stabbing noodles. I'd listen, then counter with a story from my queer networking group. War stories of resilience. Intimacy thrived in these spaces. Post-dinner walks where hands swung free. Her leaning into me at stoplights. Nights where bodies spoke in whispers, her sighs a symphony against my skin. Romance was the small salvations, surprise tickets to a folk concert. Her voice harmonizing soft to the chorus. Wildflower bouquets she'd press between book pages. Notes tucked in, bloom where you're planted. But drama's underbelly stirred. Summer brought Cora's 30th. A milestone laced with her mother's milestone guilt trips. 30 and unmarried. The calls implied, veiled in concern for grandkids. We hosted a low-key bash in City Park. Fairy lights strung through cottonwoods, playlist heavy on empowerment anthems, friends toasting with spiked lemonade. Trent crashed the periphery, invited by a mutual via oversight, his arrival a fly in the ointment. He hovered at the edges, beer in hand, eyes lingering too long on Cora during cake cutting. "Congrats," he said, voice oily. "Still looks like you need saving from yourself." She stiffened, but I stepped in, arm around her waist. "She's saving herself just fine. Cheers to that." The slight festered. Later, as guests thinned, he cornered her by the grill, words exchanged low and heated, his face reddening. I intervened, voice steel. "Time to go, Trent." He sneered. "Playing night now? She'll tire of the game." Cora shut him down, fierce. "The game's over. For you." He left, tail between legs, but the venom lingered. A reminder of worlds that wouldn't yield easy. That night, under stars pricked like promises, she curled into me on a blanket. "Thank you," she murmured, "for seeing me. All of me." Our kiss was reclamation. Bodies affirming what words couldn't erase. Autumn deepened commitments. I proposed collaboration. A joint art project for a local gallery. Her poetry paired with my illustrations. Trails untaken. A chapbook of queer journeys through the Rockies. Brainstorming sessions turned electric. Her verses raw with betrayal's echo. I wandered divides mapped in regret's ink. My sketches capturing cliffside confessions, wildflowers as metaphors for fragile growth. The launch was intimate. Lodo loft, wine flowing, readings met with snaps and sobs. Critics praised the humanistic pulse. But deeper validation came from Cora's mom, attending unbidden, her hug post-reading tight. "It's beautiful, honey. You're beautiful." Yet conflict crested in November chill. The current date mirroring our first storm, November 29th, a Friday freighted with memory. Cora's school faced budget cuts. Her position on the chopping block amid whispers of family values curriculum shifts. "They want me gone because of us," she confided over diner hash browns, eyes hollow. Protests ensued. Petitions, parent alliances, her standing at board meetings with voice steady but hands trembling. I rallied flyers designed pro bono, social media storms amplifying her story. Solidarity swelled. Queer educators sharing scars, allies marching. The climax unfolded at the final hearing. City Hall packed like a powder keg. Cora spoke, podium dwarfing her frame. "Teaching isn't about fitting molds, it's about shattering them. My love for my partner, for these kids, fuels that fire." Applause thundered, but backlash bit. Anonymous emails laced with slurs, Trent's byline in a local op-ed decrying agenda pushing. Betrayal's face unmasked. That night, threats escalated. A slashed tire on her Corolla, parked outside our building. Police reports filed, but fear coiled tight. We fortified. Security cams installed, friends crashing for safety nets. In the quiet aftermath, vulnerability peaked. "What if we leave?" I proposed, packing boxes half-hearted. "Portland again or Seattle, fresh starts." She paced, blonde hair wild. "Running feels like surrender." The argument simmered. My protectiveness clashing her defiance, old patterns rearing. Me pulling close, her pushing for fight. "I won't let them win," she insisted, tears fierce. "Not our love, not our life." I relented, but doubt gnawed. Was resilience romance or reckless? Resolution dawned gradual, humanistic in its grit. Allies mobilized, a fundraiser netting her tenure security, the board buckling under scrutiny. Trent's piece backfired, sparking counter-coverage in the Post. Local teachers stand for love and learning. Victory tasted bittersweet. Hugs in the newsroom glow but shadows of what-ifs. We celebrated subdued. Hot cocoa on the balcony, her head on my shoulder as snow dusted the peaks visible in the distance. We made it, she whispered. Through the fire. Winter wrapped us gentle. Holidays with her family evolved. Mom's turkey now paired with my gluten-free stuffing, Dad's toasts inclusive, to chosen families. New Year's found us at Brainerd Lake Trailhead, snowshoes crunching virgin powder, the divide a white expanse. At the overlook, rings glinting in lantern light, Cora knelt, not proposal but vow renewal. Madeline Harper, you hiked into my heart uninvited and made it home. Be my constant. Tears froze on lashes, I pulled her up, kissing through mittens. Always. Life post-climax was mosaic. Her classroom a beacon, stories about kids finding mirrors in her lessons. My studio humming with commissions, portraits of couples defying odds. Romance matured. Anniversaries in the hills, tents pitched with intention. Quiet nights where poetry flowed unbidden, her pen tracing my spine. Betrayal's scars faded to silver, reminders of depth earned. In the end, our story wasn't conquest or catastrophe, but quiet triumph. The humanistic arc of two women choosing each other amid tempests. Hiking the Rockies that first summer I'd sought escape. With Cora I found a rival. Love, it turns out, isn't the summit. It's the trail, winding and wondrous, shared step by shared step.